This is Stephen Dominguez from the Science Faction Podcast, and you're listening to the BS Podcast Network. Enjoy.
You got a team here.
Superman can bring this team together better than I ever could. His strength
doesn't matter how strong you are or what abilities you might have.
He's more human than I am. He lived in this world. Fell in love, got a job. Despite all that power, the world needs Superman. And the team needs Clark.
Right. Okay, yeah, here's the thing. See, I'm afraid of bugs and, guns and obnoxiously tall people and murder, and I can't be here. It's really cool. You guys seem ready to do battle and stuff, but full transparency, I've never done battle. I've just pushed some people and run away.
Save one.
What?
Save one person.
Which one?
Don't talk, don't fight. Get in, get one out.
And then?
You'll know.
Okay.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Who are you?
My name is Bond.
Bond.
I'm Batman. Name's Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
Bond. James Bond.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
This is the Batman vs. James Bond show. The show covering everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. And now, here's your host, Brian Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. The name's Thomas, Brian Thomas, and I am your host, and this is the show where we discuss everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. It's great to be back. I hope all of you have had a fantastic week. Maybe some of you have had a ginormously... I don't know, whatever the word is. I'm bad with words. I really am. I always say English is my second language, technically. But we'll just say I hope everybody's had a great week. Some of you might have had a better week than others. Some of you might be kind of in a, how should I say this, a very depressing, piss-poor kind of mood. That might be determined after this show. I will see about that. But let's get right to it. Joining me this week and making his triumphant return to Batman vs. Bond is the host of Nick and Vince podcast, Mr. Nick Palodichuk. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for wonderful. Thanks for having me back on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to have you. For those of you that are still catching up, welcome, first of all. But Nick joined me, and it's hard to believe it was during the summer because the year's gone by that fast. It was back in July that we were talking San Diego Comic-Con, which we'll play into tonight's episode very much. It's not something you had to listen to, but I strongly suggest that you go back and listen to it because it was a lot of fun. We're talking about a certain subject tonight. Bond fans beware that we are sticking strictly, as the title says, to Justice League. This is a Justice League review. Will it go on? Will it set another new record for 3 hours? I have not a clue. I know Nick's over there on the other side of Skype thinking, God, Brian, please don't do that. I listened to that Skyfall review. It was cool, but please don't let me be that guy. But in all seriousness, though, we'll try to keep it around hopefully an hour and a half. We'll see what happens. There are so many things to get to with this.
There are.
There's so many things, and not just the review itself, but just I'm so anxious right now. I am, but I will say this: that what we're going to do for those of you that haven't seen the movie, and I think there's a few of you out there, we're going to break it off into a non-spoiler review for those of you that haven't seen it, and then we're going to warn you. Don't worry, we'll go into a spoiler review, all-out spoilers. We're talking everything about this that we didn't get a chance to touch on, and then we have, like I said, we let's go right into it. Just a reminder before I forget: BatmanVSBond.com. That's right. You know its name. Go there for the latest shows and more content. And you can also find the Batman vs. James Bond show on the BS Podcast Network. That's bspodcastnetwork.com. Find my show and a whole bunch of other great shows on there. Now let's get down to business. All right, Justice League review, directed by Zack Snyder. Let's start with the synopsis first. It's fueled by his restored faith in humanity, inspired by Superman's selfless act. Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally, Diana Prince, to face an even greater enemy. Together, Batman and Wonder Woman work quickly to find and recruit a team of metahumans to stand against the newly awakened threat. But despite the formation of the unprecedented League of Heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash, it may already be too late to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions. Starring Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne Batman. Spoiler alert for those, sorry, Joker, we broke it first. Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. Henry Cavill as Clark Kent, Superman. Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, The Flash. Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry. Aquaman, and Ray Fisher as Cyborg. I always like doing this before, and this actually will play also a big factor into the review that we're going to be talking about, is some quick facts about the movie, some interesting facts I always like to throw out there. This movie actually took nearly a decade to come to the big screen. Now, Nick, you probably know this. Do you know what version I'm talking about, or what iteration?
I think you're referring to that, 2007, somebody wrote a script. Yeah, somebody wrote a script for Justice League. I think that was not the full title. It was like Justice League something, or Forever, Justice League Border, or whatever. And Warner Brothers liked the script, and they were going to greenlight it. They were like, "Yeah, let's go ahead and do it." Mm-hmm. And if you want to continue on, it didn't pan out as what happened.
Right. Now, I do know that George Miller was actually set to direct this, and this was back in 2007, just like you said.
Yeah.
He was planning on directing it, but he left in 2010. This was at the same time, mind you, as the Nolan trilogy. So this was going to be a different Batman. Armie Hammer was planned. Yep. He was set to be Batman, and which I could probably see. I don't know. I've seen. I'm trying to get that picture in my mind of him. He's a really big guy, so I guess I could kind of see it. Probably as big as Ben Affleck, anyway. But besides the point, though, they decided to scrap it, and they decided that it wasn't going to work out, and here we are 10 years later, and now we're finally getting a Justice League movie. Now, Justice League has been something that, how old is the Justice League in the comics, do you think?
It started primarily after the late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
People kind of figured out that the biggest moneymaker was if you group all the superheroes together. Kids aren't dumb. If you want to get a comic book with just Batman in it, comic book with just Superman, or you just want to pay for one comic and have all of them together, and that was Justice League, and that's primarily why it sold out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do you remember who the original Justice League was?
The founding members was the six. You had Wonder Woman, Superman, Aquaman, Batman, Flash, and Green Lantern. So the original six is primarily... And the bulk of it is primarily there with this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would have liked to. George Miller. The movie I've seen of his is Mad Max Fury Road, and after I saw that, was it a year or two ago? I'm like, wow, to see him direct a Justice League movie with what he did with that, I was like, I would have been sold. And I know that a lot of people probably would have liked for him to come back, but we'll save that also. So what ended up happening is, Man of Steel obviously was the reboot of the DCU. Most people know that, I think. Anyway, your casual movie fan might not know that. I'm not so sure. When Man of Steel came out, and it was in 2013, that was the reboot of the DCU, restarting with Superman, and then became Batman v Superman last year. And then we had a Suicide Squad movie. This year we've had Wonder Woman. The first two movies, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I really hate that title, by the way, if I didn't say that last time.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's too long of a title. It really is. Unlimited, uncut edition.
I know.
It was both of them were directed by Zack Snyder. Now, with this, the plan was for Zack Snyder to, he directed this movie. He does get the credit for directing this movie. And actually, it was initially supposed to be split into two parts. Some people don't know that. It was supposed to be a Justice League Part 1, which would have been this movie, and then a couple years down the road, it'd be Justice League 2. But what ended up happening is that, they decided they wanted to shift a tone from Batman v Superman. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was Zack Snyder and his wife, producer Deborah Snyder, who's also been producing the DCU movies, they had to step down from the film because of the suicide of Zack's daughter in March 2017. So what ended up happening is Joss Whedon, he was already working on this. They decided, or Warner Brothers, when I say they wanted to shift in tone with this because of a lot of the reaction, critical reaction mainly, that Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice was too dark. It was sad, it was dark, it was dreary, and people I guess wanted more of an exciting popcorn flick. They wanted to see their two favorite superheroes. Why would Batman and Superman be fighting? And so they ended up bringing in Joss Whedon. For those of you that don't know, he was involved in the MCU, and he directed a little movie called Disney's Avengers and Avengers: Age of Ultron, which I always like to say is for the other team. And what Whedon came in and did is he did some rewrites to punch up the script and allegedly mainly the character moments, but because the studio was saying that Snyder's first cut was unwatchable. Am I with you so far?
Yeah, okay. I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just making sure I'm getting all the facts because like I said, there's so many things in the background about this that I want to make sure that I get straight.
Yeah, I'm almost anticipating there's going to be some kind of book coming out of the making of this movie. There's going to be so much material.
I hope that gets made into a TV movie at the very least. I think I'd rather see that more than Nicolas Cage's Superman: The Death of Superman. I think I'd rather see that instead.
Right? Yeah. That documentary. Yeah.
So what ended up happening is because of the death of Zack Snyder's daughter, Joss Whedon ended up taking over immediately as the director and screenwriter. Now, he does have screenwriting credits on this movie. He reshot and managed additional scenes for the final cut. Extensive reshoots in London and LA in this year, okay? Mid-2017 we're talking. Around the time that you and I were talking, it was still going on at a cost of approximately $25 million to the film's budget. Now, the budget originally for Justice League was $300 million, not including $150 for marketing cost. It will need $450 million to break even, and it's currently at $281 million worldwide. We'll save those numbers for a little later. And mind you, Joss Whedon also fired the composer for Batman v Superman, one of the composers anyway, Junkie XL, who did the Batman theme. Meanwhile, Hans Zimmer did the Superman theme, and they collaborated on that, but Hans Zimmer didn't want to come back because he was kind of done with the superhero movies. So let's start with the non-spoiler. Let's start with the good. Now that we all know those fun facts in there, because like I said, they're really going to come into play. Nick, give me the good, if there is any good, from the Justice League.
I went to see it the other night, and I was totally expecting, almost exact carbon copy of Batman versus Superman. Mm-hmm. And what kind of came away with was actually this is probably a decent, good, solid film for me. Yeah. It's not going to be exceptional. It's not going to be phenomenal, but it came away with, I was really satisfied with the end result. Obviously there's flaws. There's a lot of cutting and slicing. It's really fast, but overall I gave it a thumbs up, and I just talked to Vince, and Vince also saw it, and he agreed with me. Well, this is actually a pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing that, like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about this later also, is the fact that critics were very harsh on, well, I don't want to say harsh on this, but, the reviews for this, when they come out now, like with Batman v Superman, it was kind of waited. They held off till last minute with the embargo. Yes. With Wonder Woman, they actually released it early with the embargo. So we had 2 weeks before Wonder Woman was released, if memory serves me correctly, and they were positive reviews. It was at least 90, I think, and overall the critics and the audiences, Joe Schmo, they really, really enjoyed that movie. I know I did as well. So I went in with mixed expectations with this. I'm the first one to say, even as big of a Batman fan as I am, I wasn't highly anticipating Justice League. After everything that I had seen, after seeing even Batman v Superman, even I watched the Ultimate Cut a couple weeks ago, and I enjoyed it. I don't love it though, because I find the flaws with it. Not that I'm nitpicking for flaws. It's just the flaws are there. They really are. With this movie, I went in the expectations thinking, okay, well, even minus the reviews, I make my own opinion. I always do. I pay attention to what the critics say, and then I'm like, well, maybe I'll have to go in with lower expectations. I did do that with this movie. And then I came out of the movie, I'm like, with my friend Brad, I'm like, hey, this was fun. This was a fun movie. This was very entertaining. Like you said, it was fast paced. You could tell where it was edited a lot. If anything, I know that I really enjoyed the League itself, of all the characters in the League. Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg. I think even my least favorite, Cyborg, I still enjoyed. I liked the little backstory in there. I know stuff was cut from that. I like.
Yeah, I mean to interrupt, but the whole, I mean, you see in the trailer of him playing football, and I know they did a whole bunch of shoots of him playing football, and that was completely edited out.
Mm-hmm.
They cut that out. So
yeah. I like the return of Alfred in this. I really like Jeremy Irons' Alfred. It's such a departure from the Michael Gough Alfred or from the Michael Caine Alfred. This Alfred, I don't know. He's more snarky, I guess, or he's just
a little more snarky. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for, right? Yeah.
He's more hands on, and I'm thinking today on my drive home because I have nothing else to think about. Of course, I'm like, he's not the butler in this. Is it even said or mentioned that he's the butler? What exactly is he? Is he kind of a servant, or because even in Batman v Superman, Bruce Wayne's handing him coffee instead? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess he's
almost wearing like military outfit.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly.
I mean, it almost looked like he's like military. It was weird.
Right. Yeah. I like how like I said, he's more hands-on. I know he was more hands-on in Batman v Superman. He was definitely hands-on in this movie. I like I said, I always love his little what do they say, pithy comebacks. I always like them in a way. Ma Kent and Lois Lane. I like seeing them return because I'm a fan of Man of Steel. So, I was really excited to see them back because to me, this almost seems like a trilogy. Or this would have been Zack Snyder's trilogy of, just kind of the Justice League or the intro to the Justice League. Starting off with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then this. So I think it was very important given the fact that a certain character does return. I think it's no secret. It wouldn't be a spoiler to say Superman returns.
I know, and it's nice to have Amy Adams back on. She didn't have very much to do in this movie. Mm-hmm. Obviously, she's coming in for the quiet parts. But overall, every time she's in the movie, it doesn't bore it down. It's not dragging it. It's actually a nice filling aspect of the movie that is not just all get together and battle. There is a side other to this one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Ma Kent just has that, I guess realistic or just that kind of grounded kind of feel to the movie. Just because, she feels like she's everybody's mom in a sense.
I know. That's exactly what I got. She's almost everybody's. Right?
Yeah. She's like, oh, what gave it away? The cape, I'm trying to think about what else. The rapport between the team, going back to the team itself. I mean, the song for the trailers from the very beginning that Junkie XL helped co-write is Come Together. It's the cover of the Beatles and the Aerosmith. Yeah, well, actually, Aerosmith covered it, and then this is another cover of it. But they really did. That song was so appropriate for this movie because that's exactly what happened.
It's still in my brain. I mean, I've heard that song so many times over listen to trailers and stuff. So it's still ingrained in my brain. But you're right. It's a coming together, and it's a nice pitch that I think that they can probably maintain. And remember, these are people who don't like to work together. These are a group of people who like to work alone. Mm-hmm. And then I think they sold it pretty well that they have to, even though they don't want to.
Right. Yeah, I think that, I said even last week before seeing the movie, I was saying, I wonder, I almost advise everybody that you don't have to, for anybody, if you're just bringing your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse, whomever, to the movie and they had not seen Man of Steel or they had not seen Batman v Superman, that, they probably didn't need to, but it wouldn't hurt. And I think it actually, looking back, it probably would have helped had they seen this movie or seen that before they saw this movie.
No, I don't think you really need to see. You won't be completely it'd probably be beneficial if you see a couple of movies before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Easter eggs, definitely, I guess, in a sense.
Oh, there's so many.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Such a long list of them. I hope you have your list because I lost mine before the show. I'm doing this by memory because I saw the movie on Friday. As a matter of fact, I wanted to see it Thursday, but I'm like, oh, I'm still under the weather. I'll wait till Friday. I'll wait one more day, and But like I said, I was pleasantly surprised by this. I was more surprised than I was with Batman v Superman and with Suicide Squad. I want to see this movie again. The more I talk about it, I really want to go back and see this. There's no other way to say it, and I'll say this again. It was fun and entertaining. Was it my favorite DCU movie? No, it wasn't. But it's, I would say that I enjoyed Wonder Woman more than this movie, and I like Man of Steel better than this movie. This has rewatchability. It really does.
That's what I was going to probably touch up on. The rewatchability is very high, and I would like to add to what they showed for what Gotham City was in this movie. I absolutely adored.
Mm-hmm. I
loved it. I know it's in the studio a lot, but the way they had Gotham City and Commissioner Gordon and everything, it looked like they just peeled it right off the comic books. It was marvelous.
Yeah, you know what it had a feeling of is an Arkham game, a Batman Arkham game.
It did. It's totally in studio. It's not on location, but it was a nice feel. I want to see that movie. I want to see that Gotham City Batman Commissioner Gordon movie.
Yeah. Commissioner J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. I mean, he's good. He was good as J. Jonah Jameson. He's good in pretty much everything that he does. And I'm waiting for him to say, "Where is Spider-Man?" But of course, we never got that. But that's okay. But it's easy to make an actor look like a comic book character. But it's the portrayal that he did, and he nailed it. He did. And I wish that we could have seen more of him. And I know
I was craving more.
Yeah, we wanted more. I wanted more of Alfred. I wanted more of all this, and like you said, it was a 2-hour movie and it was cut. And I guess we can say that, save that for the bad, maybe, I don't know. At the same time, I would say that it was just the right amount of time. It went by so fast for me. I'm like, oh my god, it's over already. This sucks.
That's the same thing I felt.
Yeah.
Right. It's a nice beneficial feeling of still want more. It's a nice kind of a feeling like, let's have more of it. I like that.
That's always a good thing. Not like you're so tired out that you have to just like bail for a minute or two. So, I'm gonna go refill the popcorn. I'll be back. And,
I guess. Yeah.
Let me think. What else that I liked? I'll let you think while I'm thinking.
Well, it was nice to have beginning sequence of just a no nonsense kind of a robber interacting with Batman, and it had a very much of a comic book feel of Batman nabbing a no nonsense criminal that we've seen many times before, but it was a nice little different angle to it. And we get to see some new gadgets. Batman obviously has some new gadgets. He's a little upgraded than we've seen before, and that was nice to see as well.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about his new cowl and the slightly tweak to at least to that suit anyway?
I think it's wonderful. It's a wonderful modification.
Yes,
that you have these adaptations on his arms and stuff like that you can link it.
Yeah. It reminds me of the gauntlet in his arm there with the little computer. I'm like, that's straight out of Arkham. I mean, maybe they had it in a comic book. I'm not so sure. I'm sure they did, but it was awesome. It really was. There was an opening sequence. I guess we can talk about it. It wouldn't be quite spoiler territory because they do like a found footage I guess we could call that at the very beginning.
Right, yeah.
I was kind of like, this feels like it was added in. And to be honest with you, this will probably end up in the bad also, but I might as well say it. Before the movie came out, there were reports, and it was confirmed that Henry Cavill was shooting the next Mission Impossible movie. When they did the reshoots for this movie, Paramount said he could not shave his mustache. So... what ended up happening is Warner Brothers had to CGI Henry Cavill's mustache for this movie, and this happened when I've seen a couple other movies. When I saw Rogue One, with what's his name, the not the Admiral in there. Yeah. Anyway, he's on the Death Star. Or same with Fast and the Furious. After the death of Paul Walker, I could tell it was CGI'd. I could tell the CGI. Or if anything, I'm looking for it. It's so bad that I'm looking for it. But I think I kind of noticed it even at the very beginning. Or that seems like there was a scene that was added in at the beginning. It really didn't add to it. I almost wish that they would have jumped right into just the Batman scene, because that made me feel like I was in Tim Burton Batman '89 again. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, the found footage thing kind of goes back to the what they did with Civil War, or not Civil War, with Spider-Man Homecoming, him shooting his own video and stuff. And I think it's probably some kind of an executive saying, you got to do something for the kids, and the kids are in YouTubes and they do these video clips. So they want to have something that's kind of a visual representation of like a YouTube or something like that, or Snapchat, that kids can relate to, that they want to bend to the kids too. Yeah, that they are comfortable seeing.
Right.
So, but it did seem a little bit forced into it.
I understand though why they did it, at least because this whole movie is about retooling in a sense. It really is, because Batman v Superman was, like I said, most of these movies, aside from Wonder Woman, was met with mixed reviews, and people say that it's too dark, they need more jokes, or needs to be lighter toned, and I don't think just because having more jokes and lighter tone is going to make a movie better. But that's what separates sometimes the DCU from the other team, the MCU. Sometimes they're more grounded. Sometimes it's just the type of stories that are told. I mean, Nolan trilogy was dark, but it still had some fun to it at the same time. They had more, I guess, not casual humor, but I think you know what I'm talking about. It was more sarcasm.
Sarcasm, banter.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not just like, oh, we're going to throw in a joke just because. And that is not a jab at the MCU, guys. It really isn't. I know there's MCU fans out there. I mean, I even said it online today that, there's some MCU fans, movies that I like. I like the Iron Man movies, -2. And I liked The Winter Soldier, and I liked Guardians, but those didn't feel like it was forced. And Iron Man had that, kind of like, it had that, it's Robert Downey Jr. Batman 89 had that in there with Jack Nicholson being dark as hell, but, Heath Ledger's Joker. Let me show you a magic trick. I'm going to make this pencil disappear. It's gone. Ta-da! So, I mean, that's dark humor, but hey, it's humor at the same time. The opening, I'm going to be nitpicky also about the opening. That song at the very beginning, that was crap. I don't even know what it was.
I don't know either.
I was like, okay, but I understand. Like I said, once again, I understand why they're going with this. They're trying to remind you at the very beginning, guys, is that Superman was this. What did Batman say? He's the symbol of hope. Well, not symbol of hope, but he was beacon. Yeah. And that's probably what they were trying to show with the found footage. Something we didn't really see in Batman v Superman. A complaint by many fans of Superman is that we've never seen a Superman compared like the old days of Christopher Reeve.
Yes, and he was more brooding, more solemn. Here, it's almost like he's comfortable being Superman, where I don't think like Man of Steel took the whole movie being comfortable being Superman. Here, in just that found footage and all the time that we able to see him, he's absolutely comfortable being Clark Kent, comfortable being Superman. And I don't know, did we ever get the glasses back on? I don't think we've seen him get the glasses back on.
Did he have he got laser vision fixed, when he was in the grave.
He got corrective lens.
Spoiler alert! He got corrective contacts from General Zod or from the spaceship there. Yeah. Another thing I'm thinking though is that no, see, I'm trying not to be nitpicky at the very beginning, or at least with the good. Ed, do you have any other good? I'm trying to think. I like seeing the new the Batmobile. I like seeing that. It's definitely got more artillery on there. That's always cool to see.
I do. And there's another. He has. It's not just the only vehicle he has. He has an arsenal. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, what was the name of it?
I believe it's called Nightcrawler.
Yeah, the Nightcrawler. Oh, that was really cool. I did enjoy that. Trying to think what else. Overall, like I said, the characters. What'd you think about Ben Affleck's Batman returning? I forget what you thought about Ben Affleck.
I've always loved Ben Affleck as Batman. In fact, when he said he's going to be, I know there's a lot of criticism how this can be, but he has the build, he has the frame, he has that slack-jaw look of Batman, and I really, when he was doing it, I don't sense that that's Ben Affleck. I sense that's Bruce Wayne doing it. And of course he has a couple, fun little lines that he says. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to see Batman or Bruce Wayne looking for others for help. And it's awkward for him to do that, but he knows he has to. Mm-hmm. And I think he sold me on it being this Bruce Wayne, like, I don't want to work in a group, but I have to do this. And I'm doing it for a friend who probably is a better human than I am.
Right. Yeah. You get that sense. I know that's said in the synopsis, but yeah, Batman feels guilty because, because of what happened with Superman in Batman v Superman. He died, saving the world. And Batman's like, well, almost feels like, man, it should have been me. So to honor, Clark Kent, to honor Superman, I'm going to have to unite the team because I have this dream that something bad is about to happen. So, I'm going to, I need warriors. And, it wasn't hard to recruit Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, I would say. That wasn't hard at all. And they gave a better explanation this time about it. That we'll save that more for spoilers, I guess. The Flash. I think the standout, if it wasn't Wonder Woman, it was the Flash. I loved Ezra Miller as the Flash, and this is coming from a fan of the CW Flash.
Right? Yeah. This is totally different perspective from the CW Flash. This is a little more of a younger, more isolated Flash. He's a loner. Obviously, when you can be that mobile and quick, you're going to be transparent, move around and stuff like that. I do like that he's very socially awkward.
Yes, he really is.
I like that even that he has these abilities, he still doesn't know quite what to do exactly.
Right.
I can do this, but okay.
Right. Just his interaction. I need friends. I'm all in. He's like, I just move people, and he was just the one. I think that I don't want to say comic relief, but he seemed like he would be like us. Like if we were, I know this has probably been said on many shows, but if we enter in the Batcave, the first thing I'm going to want to do is jump in that Batmobile. It's the bat signal. It's the Batcave.
If I was in, I would be totally like Flash and inspect it within 10 seconds every nook and cranny I could possibly do.
So he was almost like the inner fan, if anything. I think he knows who he didn't know Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne was Batman. He didn't even know who Bruce Wayne was, but he knows who Batman was. Like I said, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I every time she was on screen, I think I'm reminded more of why was she the perfect casting for this? Maybe, maybe not. But I like her casting. Her casting does fit. Her acting at least fits with this, especially since the days of the Fast and Furious, definitely.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's this bank robbery. It's almost like an homage to the opening sequence of The Dark Knight. And she comes in and she does a wonderful job of telling it that this Wonder Woman can do these things. It was actually the bank. That whole scene was actually shot. It looked wonderful. I really liked that.
That was, and here's how you can tell a Zack Snyder movie, at least this is what I told my friend Brad, is that whenever you see bullets drop in slow motion, everything is put into slow motion. That is Zack Snyder's footage. Whenever you see more humor or just these really, really, funny jokes, that would be probably more Joss Whedon's work. Am I wrong?
I love the irony that all of them led the scene faster than the Flash, and then the Flash was the late to the party. They took off. That's a Joss Whedon gimmick.
Definitely, yes, yeah. What'd you think about Aquaman?
This was a little bit. I don't know how. It's hard to be. I'm old school Aquaman,
right?
And this Aquaman looks different. He acts different. He's more brooding. He's bullish. He's bullheaded.
He's got better hair than Gal Gadot.
Does have better hair. I do like this presentation of Aquaman. He's just this nice, pretty guy that comes out in the open to help. He's reluctant. Hey, get out of my hair. I'm doing what I want to do. This, I think, because the next movie we're getting is Aquaman. Next one we're doing.
Right.
I do like if they keep it's been shot in this movie, if it projects into the next movie, I love it. I'm going to be there waiting to see it. I do like this version of Aquaman.
Yeah.
I just want to know who gives him tattoos in underwater.
I have no idea, but watching him chug the whiskey as he, and just throw the bottle down as he jumps back in the water. That's not spoiler. Don't worry. This one's on him. That was just priceless. I'm like, okay, you're Aquaman. Nobody can make the jokes about talking to fish, even though Bruce Wayne did say that. It's just like this guy is a badass. He might, and like I said, he wasn't. I mean, I really enjoyed him. He wasn't my favorite out of the Justice League, but I think Jason Momoa playing that more of a surfer kind of a guy in a way. That surfer badass. I'm like, yeah, Point Break is Aquaman. This works.
right.
Yeah. Bodhi has Aquaman. All right. How about Cyborg? What are your thoughts on Cyborg? I know people are going to have mixed feelings on him.
And I'm sure for a lot of people who just go to movies and not know superheroes, he's the least known of them.
Yeah, at least for me, he was. I know.
Yeah, and I think they did an excellent job of something that could have been very bland and turn it into a character that we can actually sympathize with. Right? This is a person who did not want to be in the situation he is in, and for him, he doesn't want to go outside. He's transforming. And I've almost, when I saw this, book Metamorphosis, where you don't know what's happened to you. You don't want to help out, but you got these unique things that you probably can assist other people in doing good. I really did. I do like it, but I wanted more. That's the kind of thing with this. I wanted more of him, but you did get a sense of sorriness. You did sympathize with him of what happened to him in a unique way.
Yeah, I like also is his relationship with his father in there. I forget what the character's name is, but I know the actor Joe Morton. He's been around a long time anyway. So I always like seeing older actors in there. Well, he's not that old, but he's just, aged actors anyway. Besides the point though, I like their story in there. I wish we could have seen more of them. I felt this was a way better intro than the found footage in Batman v Superman, because that looked like it was something that was cut very quickly. Even if you didn't see Batman v Superman, they gave a good backstory about what happened. And we haven't even really talked about it, is the three mother boxes. Now, maybe you can give a better synopsis or better, definition of what they are.
Mother boxes are, and it's probably based on the New Gods of Jack Kirby, is these kind of devices that are able to attract your different universes, different galaxies to terraform into your own, almost kind of like what General Zod was going to do. And so you could bring your environment into the location as long as you have these. And plus, it's much like you have infinite powers. So when you watch this Justice League, there is this influence of these series called the New Gods. In fact, I think it's referenced in the movie, a reference of these are new gods and this is old gods. And when they talk about old gods, they're referring to the ancient Greek gods of like Diana and stuff like that, of Ares and Zeus and all that. And I did like it. It's probably brought into the story that you can buy into. I mean, they sell it pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple, idea. You get three boxes. I mean, kind of like people compare it. Well, that's from the Avengers. I don't know which came first, guys. I really don't know. And, chances are one had it first or the other had it first. Who knows? It doesn't matter. It's just how
they all
it's
reflect
executed.
each other.
Yeah, and the main villains sometimes are very, very similar. Talk about Steppenwolf in a little bit. I'm saving unless you want to put him in your good.
I think, for me, in my opinion, I think the villain is the weakest part of this whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll save that for the bad then. Because we could talk about that guy. Do you have any other good non-spoiler that you wanted to add in here before we move on? I'm sure I'm forgetting things. I know I am.
Oh, there's a lot of. I almost want to go back to just there's a lot of stuff I might have missed.
Okay.
We do get a bat signal.
Oh, I just seeing the bat signal turned on by Commissioner Gordon. That's just like, yes. Because it was cool to see Batman turn on his own signal in Batman v Superman. It's like, S just got real. Batman's turning on his own signal. It's going down. But
I'm sure you and I got a little bit, being the kid at 12 years old and seeing Commissioner Gordon flip on the bat signal with just ass everything.
Yeah, because it's been like 5 years since we really seen Commissioner Gordon turn on the bat signal, or even even Commissioner Gordon in general. I'm not going to reference Gotham. I know maybe there's fans out of the TV show Gotham. I don't watch it. I'm sorry. But I would say that this makes me even yearn more for a Batman solo film, because I really we could have just had Ben Affleck, Jeremy Irons, and J.K. Simmons in a movie, just in a Batman movie, and throw in Batmobile in there. I'm sold. I would have been sold. In that universe, like you said.
It was great. You don't even need like a supervillain. If he just did his normal thing of rounding up bad guys, I would just take my money, please.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the bad. And yes, guys, there is bad. At least for me, there is. I'm going to let Nick start with this because my list might go a little longer. I don't know. It
might as well, but obviously the bad for me was the villain. This is a very for me, is a very CGI villain.
Mm-hmm.
It's very obvious. That takes away for me. Obviously, he's a very for me, it doesn't convince me as very menacing. Obviously, he has some powers, abilities, but the whole movie, I totally believe that he was very easy to take down, and it didn't give me the possibility of any real threat. But I did. For me, that was the whole minus. It was the villain in this movie.
Yeah, definitely the villain made my list. Steppenwolf, he just. The biggest thing I would say, even not just the villain, is the CGI with this. The CGI, especially because, and I'm going to blame, I might as well throw this out there now. I blame the studio for this. I truly do. Warner Brothers, if you're listening to this, first of all, I'm sorry, but it's true. This movie was rushed, guys. It should have been delayed. I think that's the biggest problem with this movie. Because, this movie was probably, I think it started back in January of last year, if I'm not mistaken, or right around the time that...
January, February of 2006. You're right. January, February of 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I was pretty close. I knew it kind of overlapped with when we had Batman v Superman being released, or right around that time, it was still being shot. Zack Snyder was working on it. They already had a game plan in place. And then the reaction to what happened with Batman v Superman was, oh, well, Justice League, we need, like I said at the beginning, we need to shift the tone of this. We need to make it lighter. We need to change some things up. And, they decided to stick with Zack Snyder. And, while Zack Snyder definitely is a fan, you can definitely tell that he is. He has his own distinct vision. When you're looking at a movie like his, as opposed to, his movies are more, you're in a comic book. It almost feels like a comic book come to life. At least that's how I feel about it.
If you watch The Watchmen, that is a 100% Zack Snyder kind of a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pay attention to details and all the angles and the shots and the look of it. Yeah.
Right. Man of Steel was more it was a Nolan written script with David S. Goyer. Shot by Zack Snyder. I think that's probably why I like it more. I'm thinking anyway. Batman v Superman was more Zack Snyder film. And, Zack Snyder did not intentionally try to, he really tried to put out the best movie that he thought he could. And I cannot find fault with him on that. It's just that, just like any other movie, it's not for everybody. And Snyder films have sometimes more an acquired taste, I think.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. And my harshest criticism I have of Zack Snyder is he tends to confuse tone and theme, that you can have a very dark tone, but you can have a very light theme. And he does, it's a singularity to him. If it's going to be a dark tone, it's going to be a dark theme. If it's going to be a light theme, it has to be a light tone, which it does, put him into a corner, but that's one of my harshest criticisms with Zack.
Yeah. But like I said, I have nothing but respect for him, because I think if anybody was hurt more by the criticism of Batman v Superman, was obviously him, but he was just like, wow, I didn't think we were going to get that kind of reaction to it. So, obviously they already planned on changing the tone for that, but they had, all right, like I said, January, February 2016. And then during that time, there was Jeff Johns that was brought in. They ended up adding Ben Affleck as an executive producer. And then, like I said, the death, unfortunately, of his daughter. And then you have Joss Whedon coming in. And then you give Joss Whedon, 6 to 7 months to not only reshoot this, but to edit it and have it out just in time for Thanksgiving. I'll call it what it is. It's BS.
It was a crash course of, like I said, there's going to be a book about all the things that went on that crammed into getting this movie made.
Mm-hmm. I will not blame Zack Snyder for this. I can tell you already, I want to see the Zack Snyder cut. I know there's a fan petition out there for that. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I will not blame Joss Whedon for that. It's not his fault. It's just you're given this big project, which you weren't even a part of from the very beginning. You're asked to just kind of, I guess the best comparison is you have this project to finish, this big exam paper, and you have to finish it with only just about a couple weeks left. Here you go. Good luck.
Yeah, it does. And it does. I mean, it's very obvious when you go see it. It's my next criticism was the editing of this movie.
Me too.
And it's very hard because all of a sudden you get a slice. It's almost like a slice of a knife. And then you go to another thing. You're like, what? Okay. Mm-hmm. And it continues on just slicing and slicing and slicing. And you don't get a sense of a flow to this at all.
No. We even said it from the beginning with the found footage at the beginning. It kind of felt like it was pieced in there. Almost feels like it would have just been Batman at the very beginning, and then hop into the rest of the movie. The editing. I think it was the same way with the editing. I don't know if it's the same editors, Batman v Superman, but with Batman v Superman, my number one complaint with the theatrical version, and a lot of other people's problem, was that it was just like they jumped to this scene, to this scene, to this scene, and it just kind of felt uneven. Yeah.
And I was going to tell you, with this final product of Justice League, we have 3 editors. So the first one credited is David Brenner, and David Brenner did edit Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman with Jack Snyder.
Okay.
And I think the recuts were sent to Richard Pearson, and he also edited Iron Man 2. And Quantum of Solace.
Oh, wow. I should have seen that coming a mile away. Okay. So backstory.
Yeah.
Is that your James Bond reference?
That is your James Bond reference.
So I don't know if we talked about this, since we've been recording, but before we started on the pre-show, Nick was saying that there's a James Bond reference in this movie. I'm like, wait a minute. Ben Affleck didn't drive the Aston Martin this time. He was driving Mercedes. Oh, did he have an Omega? No, he didn't have an Omega in this. I think he had an Omega probably in Batman v Superman. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Okay, that. A lot of things are becoming even more clear right now for me, because
that's my only leak I could find with James Bond and Batman.
That is great.
Richard Pearson, who edited Quantum of Solace, also edited parts of this movie. And then lastly, you have Martin Walsh, who actually won an Oscar for Chicago, and he edited Wonder Woman as well with director, her last name Jenkins. So
Pat Jenkins, yep.
It's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, isn't it? You got 4 writers, directors, 3 editors, and I'm sure a handful of producers breathing down your neck what's going on, what we're doing, and this is the end result. And it's surprising, actually, a decent movie to watch for all the things that were going on.
Right. I mean, I would say that, I said from the beginning I had lower expectations for this than I did, say, a movie with Wonder Woman, which was a standalone, which just seemed like everything was it was quiet in the background. Things were just, and anytime we saw the trailers, I'm like, this looks like it's a movie that it's got its S together. Like, it had that feeling of a Nolan, I'll make the references there, and because those are some of my favorite Batman movies. And it's almost what made me become a Batman film fan again, if I have never said that on this show. With this, though, it just, hearing what happened with Snyder, I was nervous about Snyder coming back to begin with. I was kind of relieved when I heard Joss Whedon was having hand in it. I'm sorry for the reasons that he came in to direct this. I'm really sad to hear that. With the editors, having 3 editors in a movie, does that ever happen before? Maybe 2 at most, but I don't know.
It's pretty rare even to have 2 of them.
Yeah. But the biggest one I blame for this is the studio. The studio had this release date, and maybe it's not as easy, from a fan perspective, to say, oh, well, they should have pushed it back. They should have pushed it back to the summer. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's they would have to take a loss or some kind of, the expense to do that. But would it have paid off for them to do that? To have more of because this is an incomplete product. That's what Justice League is.
Even when they probably crunched the numbers and said, if we do 100% a Joss Whedon movie, we would still lose money. I think it had to be the money reasons of, all right, here's $20 million, Joss, do what you want, get the 6 months in, and we'll just hopefully we cut even and we're moving on. That's probably my perspective of what they were talking about.
But for a movie that had so much at stake, I mean, we're not just talking about an Aquaman movie here. No offense to Aquaman fans. We're talking about the Justice League. And, I'm not even the biggest comic book fan of everybody, but I would say that as a Batman fan, I'm like, okay, this is, after realizing what the Justice League is, I'm like, this is huge. I mean, you have Batman, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, Superman. I mean, just the Trinity. And this is a movie that was rushed? Are you kidding me?
It was very rushed. It's very obvious when you see it, too.
Yeah, it is. I think that's what... I'm still very mad about that, even at this very moment. I'm very, pissed off about it. There's no other way to say it. Excuse my language, but I feel that it should have been delayed. I think that if we would be talking about this in June of 2018, we'd see a different product.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. We could probably do the part 1 and part 2 of the vision what they originally wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I felt like this movie was like, I know Batman v Superman felt like 3 movies altogether. Maybe this one kind of felt like 2 in a sense. It could have probably been broken down into 2 parts.
Yes, there's very much, well,
I don't know.
It's edited so weird. You don't get like a rising action. You don't get like a climax and a conclusion. You get this slice chopped up. All of a sudden we're there and then an end. So yeah, it's hard to actually. Yeah, I would really like to see the 100% Jack Snyder what they had.
Yeah, I know I would. Given everything that happened with Zack Snyder, he's, like I said, he still got credit as directing this. Whedon, the only credit he was actually given was as a screenwriter, even though he did come in to reshoot it. I guess that's what the Directors Guild allows somebody to do anyway. And it's not unheard of to have more than one director. I mean, you have the I'm trying to think of the guys who directed the Captain America movies recently.
Russo brothers.
Yeah, the Russo brothers, the guys who directed John Wick. That happens all the time. So that's nothing new there to have different directors, but to have different directors come in at different times to finish, 2/3 or maybe like more than 2/3 of a movie. That's this movie. I don't want to say it was doomed from the beginning, but there was a lot of things that were going against it from the very beginning. Not just so much the criticism of Batman v Superman, but the fact of more the editing, last minute editing and finishing, and just Joss Whedon having to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other aspect is we know Lex Luthor was supposed to make an appearance, and that was completely edited. So I don't know if he was just going to have a sit-down scene and have him in the penitentiary or something. He breaks out. So, but whatever, 100% Lex Luthor is gone in this movie.
Yeah. Well, actually, we'll get into that in just a minute. As a matter of fact, one other complaint I would have about this, and I can't believe I'm complaining about this. I did talk about this on the last show, is that the score. I was, as a Batman, Tim Burton Batman fan, a Michael Keaton fan, my favorite Batman still, and the Batman theme that was created by Danny Elfman, and I heard, that he was going to bring back the theme in here. He was going to bring back the John Williams Superman theme, and he was pretty much scrapping everything of Junkie XL's because Junkie XL was fired, and they wanted something different, I guess. Elfman's scores, it wasn't my favorite. It was not memorable. It was just forgettable. Yeah, that's the word. What do you think?
That's very, very forgettable. And I would, I didn't put it on my radar when about it. Yes, the music unforgettable, not really anything to it. I don't remember what it was.
When there were flash sequences, I kind of heard somewhat of a theme in there. When Batman was on screen, I heard a little bit of the Batman theme in there. I did hear the Wonder Woman theme maybe once or twice. That's the one that was crafted by Hans Zimmer. But that's about the extent of it. And I was, like I said, I'm guilty of. Well, I don't want to say guilty. I love Hans Zimmer's scores. Majority of them, I really do. And I like Junkie XL's Batman theme. It was different than the Danny Elfman Batman theme, and it was different from the Hans Zimmer Batman theme that was created for the Dark Knight trilogy. But this was just like, that's as a movie fan, scores are definitely one of my favorite things about a movie, and it's important to have a score that matches the movie. Danny Elfman's score, whatever he composed for this, I don't know if it was last minute or what, it just didn't seem like it fit. There, I said it. Yep.
Yeah.
Send all your hate mail to batmanvjamesbond@gmail.com.
We still talk about it. It's amazing that I'm still giving this a positive, good review.
Yeah.
For all the stuff that went wrong with it.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe.
And I'm recommending.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it in a heartbeat. Absolutely. All right, so we're going into spoilers now. Sound the alarm. Spoilers, you have been warned. No, spoilers.
You had to spoil everything, didn't you?
Spoiler alert. There we go. All right, Nick, I will let you go first with spoilers, because I know there's some that I'm forgetting. I'll let you start, though.
Well, of course, my favorite spoiler was there is a reference to Green Lantern in this movie. that I think everybody that knows Green Lantern probably got a little chuckle out of it when they saw it. It was not very quick. It was very quick. It wasn't there all the time, but it was a nice little reference in there that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, there were two of them, right? Maybe were there two lanterns, or was that just one lantern in there? I couldn't tell.
Geez, this movie went so fast. It probably is two, and I have to go watch and see it again.
It's a damn Quantum of Solace editor. I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna bash him online. I'm gonna stalk him. Yeah. You know what? But I know the sequence you're talking about is that Wonder Woman is telling. I think she's telling Batman about the history of the mother boxes, and you see this this flashback, and it's something that you see almost in every Snyder film. I think at least with the DCU is some kind of big flashback sequence, and this was a really cool one overall because it's more historic because of you have the Amazonians, you have the Aquaman's crew.
Atlantics, yeah, they're coming together.
Yeah, they're all coming together. Yeah, and the lanterns. Yeah. And just all these people fighting Steppenwolf. And it was a cool sequence. I mean, it looked unfinished, but it was a cool sequence, though. The idea of it. And I heard that my friend told me he thinks that was Shazam. Was that Shazam in there?
Geez, and I don't know if it was Zam or I thought it was Zeus or it could have been Captain Marvel Shazam. I don't know. Right. They didn't really give you specifics. You just saw a quick flat and it's like, oh, was that Zeus with lightning or was that Captain Marvel Shazam? I don't know. Maybe you couldn't see one or the other, but you know what? It went fast.
It went by fast. Yeah. Going back even to Steppenwolf, we haven't really talked about him too much, but when he landed on, was it the Mascara, where the island where Wonder Woman comes from, where all the women,
Paradise Island.
Yes, exactly. I liked revisiting that location. It just had a different feel to it in a way. We got to see Wonder Woman's mom, Connie Nielsen, again. But it was just like he just shows up all of a sudden. He destroys a lot of the Amazonians, and then he just kind of bolts off. It's like there had to have been more to that.
I think that was one of those edited very well because the sequence is actually the whole thing of them chasing the box and everything. It was really shot really cool. They had the horses and everything. It was actually pretty great.
Yeah, it kind of had like a Braveheart kind of feel to it.
The whole aspect of him, it did. The whole of him coming in at almost without any resistance and just taking off. It's like, well, what the heck? Right?
Yeah, it seems like we could have gotten more backstory about it. I mean, sometimes with a villain, you don't need a backstory. I mean, I know we could say that about a lot of the Batman villains. You don't need to have a backstory. Just sometimes some men would just want to watch the world burn. Maybe that's what they were probably thinking about with this. But I think what took away from what's his name, Kieran Hines, who played him, is that you couldn't even tell it was him, by the way. It just looked like this really poorly done CGI character, just a villain that was kind of... I know that they knew the villain that they wanted to use, but it was just kind of like, he was like, save for the very end, kind of like the afterthought saying, okay, well, we need to put more into our character development, and this is our villain, and it's not so important about the villain, but he just, I have no problem with CGI. I know I say this all the time, but CGI done well versus CGI that looks like crap, and this looked like crap.
I don't think it's going to age very well, this villain. No. I think it's going to look, 10 years from now, I think it might be a little bit hokey, and people probably get a chuckle out of the special effects of this villain, and I think that's still going to be the big minus of this whole movie.
I'll make a James Bond comparison here.
All right, here we go.
You will not hear this on any other show. I guarantee it.
All right.
I was watching Die Another Day over the weekend. Okay, the anniversary is coming up. And I'm watching the windsurfing, and just some of the CGI in this. I'm like, that was done in 2002, and some of that looks better than the CGI in 2017 in Justice League. I said it. Yeah, yep. You can take that to the bank. Absolutely. I that's my guilty pleasure, but even so,
it's just not going to age well.
No, it's not going to. Trying to think of other things. All right. What'd you think about the return or how they decided to, the rebirth of Superman, if you will?
It was very quick.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do it. Obviously they had to do it, but how they navigated to the reasons and motives for it I wasn't really completely sold. But the whole bringing him back. It was nice to have it there. It was, and then how interaction with him, but the Superman we got to see in this movie is a Superman that I think people are comfortable seeing and wanted to see.
Yeah.
Of them just swooping in, hey, this guy giving you problems, and starts slamming away.
I love that. I truly love that. At the very end, he just kind of flies in. He's like, you guys are still fighting him or whatever he said. He's like, it's like, okay, he really is the Man of Steel. And I did like how Danny Elfman, I will say this, how he used the Superman theme there from John Williams. That was cool. That was a good fashionably late entrance right there. And when he's Barry Allen's like, I need to go save these people, and then he's pushing the truck, and then Superman's flying with the house or building. I was like, yes, that is. I'm just kind of smiling.
Upstage was I got the biggest chuckle out of the upstage, and that got the biggest laughs in the theater. That was hilarious.
Yes, that was that time. I mean, even with the CGI, it was still so well done. Now, going back to the rebirth of Superman, I know a lot of people, including myself, were thinking, and this was teased, even by Cavill himself, we were going to see a black suit Spider-Man. I'm not Spider-Man. I mean, Superman. Damn it, Superman. Like we actually did see him in the black suit in Man of Steel for a very short time in there. But at least with the comic book lore is that he comes back in a black suit, if I'm not mistaken, with a beard.
Yeah, when he gets resurrected or comes back from the death, he's wearing the whole suit, and it's black. It was silver, and it was teased, and maybe I don't know, rumors around that he was going to come back as what we saw in the comic books. I'm happy to say they did not.
Okay. So you think it was a good idea for them not to do that?
It was a good idea, even though I think when he comes back initially, isn't he wearing black slacks? I think that was kind of like that's about as far we're going to go, right? Or
he was
like
definitely shirtless, as and my wife is probably kicking herself in the butt right now for not seeing that because she loves Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck too. But a shirtless Henry Cavill is just if they would have marketed, there's something Warner Brothers should have done is market the movie more like a Baywatch movie, instead to have Henry Cavill in the poster,
right.
And that's definitely a big strike for Warner Brothers is, I honestly don't think they should have killed Superman and Batman Superman. I think that was that put them on a course of, or on a bad course anyway, I would say. And, not including Superman, while everybody knows Superman is going to come back, not including him in your marketing, not including him in the poster, and you don't include him to the final trailer at most, and you don't even get to see him as Superman. Missed opportunity.
There was something in the trailer, and I remember that one of the first trailers of Alfred saying "Welcome back," and you see like a hint of a red cape, and that was supposedly Gibbs, and that was cut from the movie, whatever kind of that was, and I would kind of like to see what that was. I mean, even you guys tease me about it. I want to see what that was. Why did you cut that off of the movie? Yeah,
well, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of things from the trailers, because when you and I I'm sure we talked about the Justice League trailer, during San Diego Comic-Con, but there were so many trailers since then. Or actually, there's been that one and another one since then, at least. But a lot of things we saw in the trailers didn't end up in the final product, including that.
No. In fact, you have Batman saying "my turn," and he starts shooting.
I was waiting for that. I was really waiting for that. I'm like,
and that was cut too. Dang it, man!
Yeah, I actually could kind of tell that was reshot or something looked different. I guess maybe from the trailer. I don't know. I mean, I liked Ben Affleck's Batman in there. I think that there's definitely footage. Hopefully, we have time to get to it about the scenes that were cut from the Snyder cut. Anyway. Let me think what else here. Like I said, watching shirtless Henry Cavill's Superman fight the Justice League as they resurrect him, I think that was a great idea because I'm thinking we're going to see a really evil Superman. If anything, it was more like he doesn't know what has happened to him and he's kind of, he kind of forgot. Kind of like a memory loss, in a sense.
Yeah, you do that and you're kind of almost doing this Frankenstein thing, and I think they try to not, do 100% Frankenstein, but just kind of entertain the idea that he's coming back and it's not all 100%, and there's going to be a little bit of struggling to get with it, and but there of course there's a little bit of humor of the Flash trying to help out, and you realize he's not going to be as helpful as you thought he was.
See, almost every time the Flash and Superman are on screen together in a scene, it it's hilarious because, everybody, he's beating up on Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and I guess Cyborg was there also. I'm not, I think, and Batman. We'll talk about that one in 1 sec. You have to remind me about that. But Flash, when they do the Flash, it's different because he's doing more of a lightning or kind of more of a slow-mo kind of a run, I guess. And
well, he's in the Speed Force, so everything he's projected as fast. Everything is going slow.
Well, I would say it's different than, say, the Flash on DC, on CW anyway. So it's way different from that. It's more, I would compare it to Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, in a sense.
Yeah, I would say they borrow that a little.
And that's okay. That they do it our way. But when Superman, it just turns around and gives him this eye, like, I see you. I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm laughing my ass off at that. So let's talk about Batman versus Superman Part 2, because this was, I made the mistake the week before. I was looking at quotes on IMDb, posting for social media and so forth, and I stumbled upon this quote where it says, Superman says, "Do you bleed?" And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to say that in there. And I knew it was going to happen, and I had a feeling I knew it was going to happen, but when it did, I was like, this is still great. Batman's quote, when it actually happened, though, one of the best. That is Joss Whedon written all over it.
Yeah, back at him. Almost like an homage, like, it's a silly line. Let's just use it again back at him.
Yes. He's like, well, something's bleeding.
And it's nice that, very nice for Superman to fall back. When he interacts with Batman. Yeah. Even though I don't think Batman is fully healthy after that, but yes, Superman does hold back. He was very nice to do that.
Yeah, and they kind of said, well, you don't like me, do you? Or I forget how it was. See, this is why I want to go back and see it. But it was, it makes me wish that there was, I feel like Henry Cavill has been underused this whole time throughout all these 3 movies, anytime he's been Superman or Clark Kent.
I agree. I had that sense. We only had the surface of what we could have as a Superman with Henry.
Yeah, and now that he's finally like the Superman that most people want, and I had no problem with him as Superman before. He was just more of Superman questioning himself. He wasn't just I'm going to go save a cat. I'm going to go carry a house and beat the Flash.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So it was nice. He had more personality in this, and you could. I remember seeing him in Man of U.N.C.L.E. I was like, man, that's different from what we saw in the other movies. I was like, man, I wish we could see that eventually, and that's what we got. Actually, it was really nice.
Definitely want more of that. Definitely.
Yeah, but I still secretly hope he's going to be the next James Bond. But that's another story for another day. Let's see, what other spoilers can we tackle on here? I'm thinking, what else? Oh, okay. Wonder Woman and Batman kind of have, I don't want to say they have a thing going on, but they kind of have that more of a deeper relationship with this. Batman, or Bruce Wayne, calls out Diana in this, which I really liked. Just saying, well, where were you during all this? Where were you in the past 100 years? And that actually kind of played really well into the story with the character development, because they did mention this in Batman v Superman about, how she gave up on the world, but because in Wonder Woman movie, she really kind of she never really went anywhere. So they kind of addressed that to a sense because of what happened with Steve Trevor.
Right. And it's a nice, explanation of the gap, because she should be a beacon of light. I mean, Superman and Wonder Woman should be the beacon of hope and everything. And she's not. And Batman, like, I can't do it. That's not who I am. You need to be better than this. Mm-hmm. She knows it. And you almost think that he's going to suffer terrible consequences for calling it out to her.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's like, oh, no, he didn't,
Right.
Cyborg's like, yeah, I was waiting for you to be done being an asshole, Yeah, but, and like I said, anytime the team was together, and they were on screen way more together than I thought they were going to be, I count at least 4 to 5 big key scenes that they were on together. And they were actually not just being, their alter ego, they were actually being the superhero, which I like seeing.
And they borrow from what we see in the Justice League comics of Batman being a jerk to the other people. Mm-hmm. I mean, he almost doesn't want to be a member of always projected as doesn't want to be a member of the Justice League. And he usually comes in and doesn't like how things are going and expects better from a lot of the other guys because he can't do what they can do.
Right. Yeah. He's like, what's your superpower? I'm rich, So, he's like, no offense, but, what is your superpower? Everybody else has their superpowers. Yeah. And like I said, just the scenes in the Batcave alone, that feels like one of the very few times that the movie kind of slowed down, but in the good way.
A good way. And I do like the projection of not so much of a big ominous space. This looks like a narrow corridor, very concise, very contracted Batcave. We've never actually really seen before.
That room that Alfred was in with Bruce Wayne as he's getting changed. They had the bat suit in there also. Or maybe I'm thinking no, that was the plane. I don't know. Anyway, but Bruce and Diana shared a scene where she popped his shoulder back in, which I thought was hilarious.
It was.
And she's like, and he even makes this remark, and I don't know if it was done intentionally as like, kind of saying Ben Affleck really saying, I can't do this forever, or I'm not going to do this forever. He was talking about that also, but let's talk about the final. The end scene, the final fight in here.
Okay, so the climactic battle, and it's pretty much in like one location. And another minus I have with the story is you only kind of follow one family. You're supposed to have this town, but it's all of a sudden you focus on this one family, and you don't have this possibility that there's other people in peril. And I don't know if it's just budget reasons that it can protect more people, but you have this, obviously, a sequence of rescuing the family and everything. And here you have the Flash being the hero that he can be, rescuing people. But you actually see Batman taking over responsibilities and giving direction to people, almost like what Captain America does with the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah. And Batman almost felt like he had a death wish. And that's probably something that was kind of cut from this. At least I know that's what was cut from what I've read. It's just that he went off on his own with the Batmobile, and he's going off. He crashes the little aircraft that they created in there. Not the Fox. It's something like that anyway.
Something like this.
Yeah, and he's being Batman. He's going off doing his thing. They're playing the old classic Batman theme, which I still don't like anyway. I mean, I love the classic Batman theme. It's just how it was used in here. Anyway, I need to move past that. I know. I did like that though. And then all of a sudden, they're fighting, and how Batman is fighting the parademons. And we didn't really talk about the parademons, but there's really not much I can say about that. Every bad villain, big baddie has minions of some sorts.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and the parademons did their job. I mean, they weren't, they look pretty cool. It's just that, but when the team really did come together, I'm sorry to make, it's not a pun, it really isn't. When they were trying to separate the mother boxes, and then, Cyborg's trying to do his thing of separating all of them. Wonder Woman and Aquaman are fighting, Steppenwolf, and then Batman's going off doing something else also. And how he blew up the shield or whatever it was that was over this town, just like with a couple missiles. I'm like, okay, Steppenwolf, this all-powerful god, you suck.
He does. That's what I took away with it. It's like, man, you just all talk, man.
Yeah, he really is. He's just like, Mother, I did this for you, or whatever kind of crap he had.
Well, I mean, they do pitch it in the trailer that the reason why he's attacking Earth is because there is no Kryptonian, there are no lanterns.
Yeah.
But so, of course, when a Kryptonian shows up, now he's got the
Yeah. And then, like we said, when Superman showed up, that's just when it, like I said, I wanted more Superman. I really wanted more Superman by that time. That's why I was like, I know this is near the end, but damn it, we got him like too late in the movie, I feels like.
Always craving wanting more. That's what I took away from this.
I know. And something else that probably, this is a quote from James Bond, what whetted our appetites was the two post-credit scenes. Now, definitely stolen. Well, not stolen, but I mean, I don't really care for post-credit scenes because I think once credits roll, that should be the end of the movie. Whatever you had, you should have put in there. But if it's there, of course, I'm going to stay and watch because I want to see more of the movie. The first one was Flash versus Superman in the race, and this is straight out of the comic, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. There's a classic cover of the Flash and Superman, Ready, Set, Go, stuff like that, and they're going to who's the fastest, yeah. And it's always been one of their banters, who can do it quicker.
Yes, and how they did it was even funnier because Barry Allen's joke throughout the movie was brunch. He's like, I don't get what the big deal about brunch is. You wait an hour to get into lunch for what? And then Superman's like, oh well, if you lose, you got to take everybody to brunch. It was good. It was done way better in the movie. Go see if you haven't seen it. Well,
it was much better in the movie.
It was so much better. I just blew that. God, I just lost 2 listeners right there. Damn it. Another one that I really enjoyed, and you had mentioned it a little earlier, is that we thought a certain character was cut from this movie. I'll let you take this one.
Oh no, go ahead because I missed this one. You have to.
You did? Wait a minute, you didn't stay for this?
I had to go to the bathroom.
Come on, man, no.
You have to tell me.
Oh my god! Do you really want me to spoil it for you? Or what?
Yeah,
all right, fine. Okay. Well, if you stayed, because I was told by many people, who got a chance to see it early.
Don't worry, my wife only told me. I had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I had many people told me you have to stay because there's 2 post-grad scenes. Stay to the very end, and you see people moving, thinking, oh well, there's only one. It's like, no, guys, you lose. I mean, you missed out on something really cool. And it was Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, and they show a prison scene, and I'm like, or it's Arkham. I assume it was Arkham anyway. And he's not in a cell, and they kind of pull. It almost felt like something a Joker would do, or it reminded me of the Killing Joke. You remind me exactly like that.
He's in the cell by himself. Yep.
Okay. It just it had a guy who looked like Lex Luthor, bald, and I was like, this guy looks older. Is Bryan Cranston going to turn around all of a sudden? Because if so, redemption. It really would be. Give me what I wanted. I wanted Mr. White as Lex Luthor, not Jesse Eisenberg.
That would have been great. Bryan Cranston, Lex Luthor. That would have been great.
Yeah, I know. The fan casting. There you go. But instead, it wasn't. It was just some kind of another minion there, and all of a sudden it cuts to this a yacht and to this boat that it's pulling up, and who shows up but Deathstroke. And this is it's no secret that I'm a fan of Arrow. I love Deathstroke on the CW. Who's the guy who portrays it on there? His name's Manu Bennett, and to me he's perfect. But they had Joe Manganiello is cast as this, and we were teased about this, and as him being a villain. I thought they were going to use him in a different way. I didn't know exactly how they were going to use him. I thought it was going to be like an opening sequence of Batman versus Deathstroke, and then to be continued with a standalone.
That's exactly what I thought. That he was going to battle Deathstroke before the
yeah. Or he would show up at the very end, with something. Batman would go back to Gotham and just start fighting with that. That would be his next kind of thing. But how they did this was, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is on the yacht, and he's He was broken out of prison by Deathstroke, and then he says maybe we should form our own league.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and that was worth staying for. I mean, and Jesse Eisenberg. I don't know. Maybe he listened to the fan complaints, but he did have more of a Lex Luthor feel, or he just kind of felt like he was more comfortable with this. He wasn't. He was just. He wasn't trying to be Mark Zuckerberg. He just felt more like Lex Luthor, I guess.
That's what I got from the Batman versus Superman. How he's supposed to be this techie kid.
Yeah,
a kid, right? More or less a kid, and hopefully we'll get to see a more mature Lex Luthor that's more brooding, that is able to match wits with Superman.
Arkham made a man out of him, I guess.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and then you got to see Deathstroke take off his mask, and he has the eye patch, but he has more gray hair instead. So I wouldn't have been able to tell he was Joe Manganiello. Honestly, I thought he was going to have I didn't know his hair would be colored, but that's more closer to the comics, I assume, right? Or one iteration.
It's one of your favorite villains. You had it just like hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, at least in the CW anyway, because I know that he's in the Batman universe also. I mean, he's probably fought Green Arrow, Batman, or whatever, and he doesn't have something. But part of the reason why I like this show is because both Batman and James Bond do not have superpowers. Same even with Green Arrow, and I just think sometimes when villains or superheroes don't have superpowers, it makes it more realistic. It's just something I like. I don't know, just my thing anyway. But I was very excited to see him in there, and I've heard that Deathstroke could get a standalone movie. Who knows what's going to happen with that? All right, wrapping it up at least with the review part of this. First of all, is there anything else that you want to add?
No.
I think we got everything that I
think we covered everything. It's short and sweet, and I want more.
Yeah, I know, right? Yep. What would you give? Overall? What is your rating? What would you give it out of 5 stars? Or I don't know. What's your rating system on your show? I'm gonna have to borrow.
No, if we had to do like a rating of 5, I would just give like a 2.5. It passed. It's satisfactory. It's good. It's fun. Mm-hmm. There's obviously a lot of good things about it. Obviously, there's a lot of bad things about it, but I don't think you're going to walk away disappointed. And rewatchability is really high for me. I definitely want to go see it again.
Yeah, I think during Thanksgiving break, I'm going to try to go see it again. Maybe I can drag my in-laws out to it. We'll see. I will give it a 3.5 out of 5. I like it definitely more than Batman v Superman. I can't decide. This is the thing. Over time, after watching a movie so many times, I can tell whether it holds up, or if it gets better. I need to go see this movie more than one time for it to, because, like I said, I'm very anxious to see this, and maybe there's stuff I'll pick up on that I didn't before, just because it's the wow factor. Whenever most of us see a movie, it's just like, oh my God, look at all this that's happening, and you miss stuff. And it could change my rating. It could go lower, it could go a little higher. I don't know, but my biggest complaint is this is an unfinished product. That's the biggest flaw of it. Not just it. That's the reason for the villain, for the CGI, just for the editing and whatever else. It is fun and entertaining. I came out with a smile on my face. Maybe it's because I went in with low expectations. Yeah. It's just it was a lot of fun just seeing all the characters get. And I will not make comparisons to the Avengers. It didn't feel like an Avengers, at least in my mind. It didn't.
No, it looked a little more weighted than an Avengers.
Yeah, and like I said, I like the Avengers. Now, I know there are critics out there. This is something that I definitely want to talk about, but before we close out here, you have time, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Rotten Tomatoes. First of all, what's your opinion on Rotten Tomatoes?
You know what? I'm almost go against Rotten Tomatoes. If this is something that's really, I understand what they do, but especially with this movie got slammed here in St. Paul, Minneapolis. Both newspapers said it was. I think they reviewed it as minor league, something like that, or not ready for the big time.
Yeah,
And I almost believed him because I was like, all right, so we have another Batman Superman on our hands, and I went away and go, okay, it's not a horrible movie. No. It's not bad. I don't know why you're slamming it, but. With Rotten Tomatoes, I understand they're waiting to give out judgment, and I know it's at lower than 50 right now?
40% last I checked.
I wouldn't be surprised if that number actually goes up a little bit after a couple weeks.
I mean, for those of you that don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is, super quick, it's a consensus of critics. It's not just a website that gives a score. It's a consensus of all the critics that have watched this movie, and they turn in their score, and then they do an average, and that's what the tomometer score is, whatever they call it. And, there's movies that, like, say, Wonder Woman that's got, I think, 90%, give or take, or 92%, I don't know. I know Dark Knight Trilogy fell into that also. Some of them did. This one got 39%, and, that means that it's rotten, as they call it. And, well, I think their website is becoming rotten in my mind. I always say, go make your own review. You can listen to what the critics do. I know I do, but I go at the very end, I go watch the movie. I try to keep an open mind about this. It's not going to stop me all the time from watching a movie that I really wanted to see. No matter what, I was going to go see Justice League. The fact of the matter is that I went in with lower expectations, just like I did with Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman. So, yeah,
I'm not a big fan of Rotten Tomatoes. I really view them as just another outlet. I don't take them as gospel.
Yeah. And what's fascinating, though, is the audience score with that, or at least the cinema score for this was a B+, which I believe isn't so bad. A B+ sounds pretty good. But the audience score right now is 85%, assuming that really a lot of fans enjoyed this. But the biggest factor here is how much money this movie grossed in the opening box office. Now, mind you, Man of Steel opened with $116 million. Batman v Superman opened with $166 million. Suicide Squad, $135. Wonder Woman, $103. Justice League, what do we say? All these big superheroes in one big movie, $96 million.
Yeah,
that is the lowest for any DCEU film ever. That sucks. There's no other way to put this. And like I said before, I blame Warner Brothers. I truly blame Warner Brothers, these executives, whoever decided to make this decision not to give it the time to put out that complete product. I also blame the critics for this too, because, or just because Rotten Tomatoes is now the thing, especially even in TV spots. You see, it's got a 96% for Rotten Tomatoes score, fresh, certified fresh. Right. And, people start listening to this stuff. It's like, guys, come on. You used to have critics back in the day. You had your Roger, you Joel Siskel's or whatever his name is. Roger Ebert.
Yeah, Roger Ebert and
Siskel and Ebert. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, Siskel,
and whomever else. Yeah. You had all those reviewers out there, that is their opinion, just like it's our opinion to say, hey, Justice League was surprisingly fun and entertaining, and I want to go see it again. But I think the problem is right now, Rotten Tomatoes is, and I don't know, maybe I can blame the critics, maybe I can blame Rotten Tomatoes. They really hurt the success of this movie the more you look at it.
Right. I'm sure like an average fan says, oh, well, it's only got that. I'm going to pass. I'm
sorry.
It's tough to digest and to divorce yourself. That's just one perspective. And I many times have caught myself when it's something that has got a bad review on Rotten Tomatoes that I've actually enjoyed. I've seen movies that had a phenomenal rating, and I go back and go, I'm missing something here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, I call them guilty pleasures. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, there's all different kinds of movies that some of I like the ones that are rated really high. Some of them I'm like, you gave it that score, really? And then you're giving that. That's why I'm stopping pretty much watching the Academy Awards just for that matter. Even so, though, it's a shame for this movie being as I would consider it to be an epic movie, or what should have been an epic movie.
Yeah, should have been,
and it's not, or at least the box office doesn't result in that. The diehard fans, I think they were going to see this no matter what. Joe Schmo, maybe not. Now, it's Thanksgiving weekend, or it's about to be Thanksgiving weekend at the time of recording right now. Hopefully, more people will go out. Maybe they're with their families or friends, and they'll be like, hey, let's go see Justice League. Why not? And I hope it helps.
I do. We're kind of like, we're critics too, being on Outland. We're just one of us. But and I think if it gets enough swell around podcasts, that eventually it'll probably get a better boost than it has in Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I know online, I've been asking, what people thought about it, and some people said, well, I've heard mixed things, but I definitely want to see it, even though they haven't seen it yet. That's from Bamf F Style on Instagram. Bronco Gang Girl, she said it was amazing. Hashtag Team Batman. Definitely a fan of that. While others, Mr. Bloor said disappointed, very disappointed. Alex Mobbin said, I thought it was terrible. The Bond experience said pretty bad. There was one scene that I liked. Outside of that, I was disappointed. Like I said, this is just one of those movies that, I know that there's fan service. I know you can't please everybody, but this is definitely what I would call it, a mixed bag of tricks almost. I don't know.
At best, it's probably going to get a mixed bag. I'm sure in a room full of, geeky and film guys, you're going to have half of them scream, this is horrible, half of them scream, this is fine. And I'm going to be on the side that says, it's fine. It's not that terrible. I've seen worse this year.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you. The one thing that won't hold up with this movie, if they do, unless they do a George Lucas kind of thing about, redoing it or re-releasing.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I'd be for that with this. I really would. But if they did a re-release of this, but it's that the CGI won't hold up even in like maybe 5 to 10 years. That would be the thing. I don't know. I'm really banking, and I knew this is probably going to happen, and I really do hope it happens, is the extended cut. I know there's a fan petition right now. Lots of people have signed it. They want the Zack Snyder cut with the Junkie XL score in there. I haven't signed it yet. I'm debating about that because, like you and I were talking about the scenes that were cut about like the backstory of Cyborg, more Batman in there. The scene that you said about Superman visiting Alfred in the cave, that was supposed to be in there. After he left the Kent farm, he actually went to the Batcave, got the suit from Alfred, and then went off to help the Justice League, the rest of the league. Yeah.
Much more intense.
So, there's little things like Iris West was supposed to be in there. There's another Jim Gordon scene in there. There all kinds of little things in there. I think even a little bit more with Steppenwolf, and we were supposed to even say, what's the top tier villain of this franchise?
Name is Darkseid.
Yeah, Darkseid. Yeah, Darkseid was supposed to make an appearance in there, even.
Yeah. Then very much like Thanos, kind of a character.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know which one came first. Whatever. I at the same time, world domination, same old dream. Anyway, I bring us to this question, and like I said, I started this in the past week. It's the question of the week. I know you saw it online. After the incredibly low box office opening for Justice League, should WB scrap the current DCU and reboot its universe again? Now, 64% of you said, no, screw it. It's awesome. Which I thought was funny. Yes, I added that in there. 36% said, yes, cut their losses. What do you think?
I took the poll and I said, yeah, let's just continue on. I do like what they're doing with the superheroes now. I like the little, the evolution of Superman. It feels like we're just getting a taste of what could be.
Yeah.
And I think we should continue on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this movie gave, like a lot of critics said, even the ones that are finding flaws with it, said, this gives us hope. This gives us, this is where we want to see what's coming up with the DCU if it does continue to exist. I know there's speculation that, Ben Affleck is not coming back. From what I understand, he's not going to. I know Henry Cavill is signed for at least one more movie. That doesn't mean anything. Lots of actors are always signed on. Doesn't mean that the studio has to use them. But I think Warner Brothers and DC Comics really have to, look at what happened here, because if you have such a big tentpole movie such as this, and you only get, this should have been making way more money than than this. James Bond movies, should make more money than this. Even like Quantum of Solace probably made more money than this movie. I can't say that positively. But this is, Skyfall was like an epic movie. This was an epic movie, I would say. And, to me, it's like, okay, well, you have another Star Wars movie coming out, rebooting a trilogy there. You've had movies like another Spider-Man Homecoming, or another Spider-Man movie, which has been rebooted now for a second time, and that made more money. And, I don't want them to reboot this, because I really like Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I really like what we've seen, even despite the fact that he wasn't like the classic Superman. I like Henry Cavill. I love seeing him. I like Jeremy Irons. I don't know if we're going to get Ben Affleck back. I liked everybody in this. I really did. Aside from the villain. But if they decide to reboot this, I think that I don't think it's such a good idea. Maybe standalones is the answer. I don't know. I'm not an executive. I'm just, I just want to see a good movie at the end of the day. I always say that.
Well, next up, they're filming it right now, is the Aquaman movie that comes out December next year. And we're getting Captain Marvel. I think Wonder Woman 2 is coming out. So you have all these singularity movies that will hopefully carry on before we get another possible Justice League movie.
Especially with Patty Jenkins set to come back as director, and Gal Gadot. I think Gal Gadot is made a believer, like I said, of everybody, almost everybody anyway, as Wonder Woman, as her portrayal. You got to really see that again in this movie. And that's a missed opportunity if they scrap that Wonder Woman movie. They can't scrap Aquaman because it's already been filmed, or it's being finished filming and editing, I guess, coming out next year.
It's going to be up next year, December next year.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, it hasn't been edited yet. Anyway, but so they can't really stop that. No matter what, we're going to get an Aquaman movie. Wonder Woman is maybe in pre-production right now. But yeah, I know that the plan was for a Flashpoint movie. You and I had talked about this before. If they could put a spin on the Flashpoint movie, hopefully they can. That would be maybe that's the answer. I don't know.
Well, I just looked up Empire Movie Magazine. It seems a possibility that the Flash movie has been scratched.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I've heard also. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a possibility that they're maybe looking for a different angle, or maybe just put Flash into one of the other movies that are coming up.
Yeah. I'd like to see Ezra Miller back as Flash. I think a lot of people had high praise for him.
Yeah. I too.
Me too. I think that, maybe I've heard, what if they did just Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman was just its own separate trilogy? That could be a possibility, and just kind of then just do a whole new Justice League. I don't know. I've never been a fan of an extended universe. I understand why. I don't know if, like I said, I don't want to say this was doomed from the beginning, but all the way back from Batman v Superman. But it's kind of felt that's what led up to all this.
It's almost DC's kind of a staple. They're always late to their own party. That they have an idea and it's already out of style before the idea of it takes off.
Yeah. Well, they set the trend with the Nolan trilogy, but that was, but at that time, look what was coming together. That you had, the MCU crafted in 2008 when The Dark Knight came out. So,
yeah.
And that, Dark Knight Rises definitely made a lot of money. Whether everybody liked it, I would say majority of people found it positive and they enjoyed it. But then you had the Avengers coming out that year. And after that, DC Comics, Warner Brothers had to decide, okay, well, what are we going to do now? Oh, we have to catch up with this. They have to play the catch-up game, which has been their biggest mistake ever. Even if you do a standalone movie, it's not going to guarantee it's going to do well, but I'm more for a standalone, or not so much just banking on even just a trilogy or a cinematic universe.
Yeah, like I said, they're kind of late to the idea, but hopefully they can learn from the mistakes they did. Obviously, they are listening to their critics. They have put a little more light banter, made it a little bit shorter. So hopefully they're listening that the fans who do like this movie kind of keep it of the same kind of a tone and same kind of a formula that to move on with.
Yeah, they need a game plan. I'd really hate to see them. They really do. I'd really hate for them to have to reboot this. I think it's, no matter what, we're probably going to get a different Batman. Ben Affleck sounds like he's kind of done with it. But even so, I'm nervous. I really am right now. Especially, I know Batman will always come back just like James Bond. I've never had any doubt about that. It's just that the potential was right there, especially after seeing this movie.
Yep, exactly. I agree with you.
So, let me finish it up real quick with some birthdays. Rapid fire here. Mia Hama celebrates her birthday on November 20th. She played Kissy Suzuki in You Only Live Twice. Mads Mikkelsen, who played Le Chiffre in Casino Royale, celebrates her birthday November 22nd. Michael Gough, who played one of my favorite Alfred. Oh, I mean, how can you not like Alfred? I mean, really?
No, I don't know.
And actually, he was Alfred in the Tim Burton movies, Batman Returns, and in the Schumachers. Poor guy. No, he celebrated a birthday on November 23rd. And Tracy Walter, Bob, you are my number one.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, that's Tracy Walter. Yeah, from Batman 1989. Celebrates a birthday on November 25th.
They made an action figure out of him.
I did see that before. I wouldn't buy it, but unfortunately I spent $56 on a Dark Knight action figure. I'll have to show that to you later.
All right, show it to me later. Yeah.
It's awesome. It really is. Even has the grapple gun. And in anniversaries that are coming out this week, believe it or not, The World Is Not Enough celebrated an anniversary on November 19th. It came out in 1999. Yes, I did see that in theaters. And Die Another Day came out on November 22nd in 2002. And like I said, the CGI in that movie, I would say, holds up better already than Justice League. Mark my words there. There you go. So that wraps it up for this extended episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. Nick, where can everybody find you, sir?
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. You can find us at Twitter at Nick Events, and we also have a Facebook page.
Yes, give it a listen, please. Please, please. Please subscribe to my show also on iTunes. Rate both shows 5 stars. Leave a nice review for us. We would very much appreciate it. The biggest thing that we ask is that you share our shows with your friends, with your family. We're movie fans. We're comic book fans. Yeah, definitely. So we're the coolest fans. Let's see. Find me on all of our social media networks, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Batman vs. Bond. Find the show on BatmanVsBond.com and on the BS Podcast Network. And also be sure to check out all the other great programming on there. Like James Bond, I will return. Nick, it's a pleasure having you. As always, you're always welcome back on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again.
I would say for Justice League 2, but I don't know if that's going to happen right now.
Right, you have to find something else. Right?
The Batman reboot, Part 3.
Oh, what's a better chance, Justice League Part 2 or James Bond 25?
Oh, James Bond 25. You know what? Actually, I'm not so sure right now. I really don't know. You know, I told you what I think. I think that Daniel Craig's not coming back as James Bond. You know, people send your hate mail to batmanvjamesbond@gmail.com. I really think it's going to happen, especially after seeing Die Another Day this weekend. I'm like, well, that was Pierce Brosnan was supposed to come back, but hey, it happens. So until next time, I'm Brian Thomas. Thanks for listening and have a great week, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
The preceding podcast is part of the BS Podcast Network. Visit bspodcastnetwork.com for more shows just like this one, and perhaps a few that are just a little bit better.